And we are back. Alrighty, hey. Oh man, with the funny be right back screen, it picked up a few viewers. I don't know what that says about me. I didn't think I was that hideous, but apparently when I turn my camera off, people show up. All right, so this is the Q&A portion. I'll start out with a question that I have here from Twitter. This is if it's all right to, I'm gonna say it. Hopefully it's okay to say this. Was there, from Soma Cruz memes, was there a time where you didn't finish a game out of frustration? Yes. I didn't play much of Tomb Raider 3 because I thought that the difficulty curve was very high very early. But the rage quit game that I have is Vagrant Story on the PlayStation 1. Gorgeous game, beautiful, fantastic. I've rage quit and I've never gone back to it. Never have. And it's I wouldn't say that it's a point of shame, but I do see that game and I hear about that game and think I really should go back and play it just because I feel bad that it beat me up. Okay. How much is a reasonable amount for a VIP ticket with all the perks for a concert for a band you really like? Treble, I would have to say that that's really more related to you personally and related to the band itself. You know, if you want to go see some gigantic act with a whole bunch of VIP stuff like the Rolling Stones, you know, I don't know if they tour or if they're even still alive, but you know what I mean? There's some gigantic band and they say it's $1,000. If you've got $1,000 to spend, that's up to you. You know, if you've got $1 million in the bank, then $1,000 is nothing. But if you're going to pay $1,000 to get a whole bunch of VIP stuff to go see the band that comes before two other bands, you're probably overpaying. Yeah, ultimately that unfortunately does land a lot on your personal interests. As far as the VIP experience and stuff, for two people, I probably wouldn't pay more than $300. And as far as the VIP experience goes, that's just, you know, going backstage and meeting them. That's and that would have to be somebody that I really like. But that's me. I'm the guy that's perfectly comfortable. I used to be the guy that went up to the front and wanted to be up front and hear it all. And now I'm the guy that's just happy to be at the concert, hearing them. I'm in the back. I can see them. You know, they're 60, 70 feet away. I can hear the music. It's awesome. I'm fine. As I get older, I'm the older I get, the further back into the concert venue I get. What is your favorite 90s cartoon? Batman the Animated Series, I think was that was a 90s cartoon. It's tough to not say Batman the Animated Series, Gargoyles, Darkwing Duck. It's tough not to say some of that stuff because they feel like they're cliches, but they're cliches for a reason, man. They're really good shows, you know, especially with Batman. Some of the stuff that show introduced, you know, that show introduced us to Kevin Conroy as Batman. That guy is more Batman than any live action Batman there's ever been. No love for SWAT Cats. SWAT Cats. What was Ronin Warriors was anime. We got anime over here. I don't know how the hell it happened. Ronin Warriors. DBZ, of course. But I think the Dragon Ball Z is technically 80s. It's just it was 90s over here. DC Animated Universe is the best thing ever. Damn right it is. Darkwing Duck. Kudos on your Darkwing Duck mention. Yeah, a lot of those Disney shows were great in their own way. Tailspin? Come on. Tailspin. Rescue Rangers. Chippendales Rescue Rangers. I liked it. It had some funny moments, but I didn't like it nearly as much as I liked the other ones. You know, I'm less of an idiot. I watched Ronin Warriors when I was 5. I didn't understand what I was watching. Yes. Yeah, DBZ is 89. Yeah, so that's technically not. It started in the not 90s, but most of, when you say DBZ and people start blurting out things like Frieza Saga and all that was 90s technically. Beast Wars. Is anybody lagging? My timer is still on here. I don't think I'm not lagging on my end. No split in the manga. Beast Wars. I'll tell you what. I didn't like Beast Wars until I got to the last two seasons, when they found the arc and they did all the stuff with the old Transformers. That was when I enjoyed Beast Wars. Oh, hello, Zet. We'll never forget Ader. I don't remember Ader. Comcast. I mean Xfinity. Reboot. I didn't like Reboot. I didn't like the CG shows. I think that's why I stayed away from Beast Wars for as long as I did. I just didn't like. I didn't think it was awful. Audio quality. My audio quality is what's going on. I didn't do anything to my stream. Why is it all messed up? Oh, Android 8. Okay. What is that, Mr. Sonic? We don't talk about. Hold on. What did Mr. Sonic say this time? Oh, Transformers Energon. Everything is fine. It's you guys. Well, hold on. Yeah, I guess that would be it for 90s cartoons. There's tons of them, but they don't come to mind. And I think some of the ones that I'm remembering are before then, because I was going to say Dinosaurs, stuff like those early Deke shows. Deke. But I think that was the 80s. Dinosaurs, Denver the Last Dinosaur, stuff like that. Silly stuff. 2000. Yeah. What about your favorite 2000s cartoons? I can't think of one, to be honest. I don't. I think by 2000 I started watching anime, and then even then it was older anime. So I couldn't. I don't know. I feel like 2000, the aughts, the double zeros. I feel like they haven't developed into their own thing yet. And if they have, I haven't seen that identity. Yeah, I can't even think of it. Inspector Gadget, best anime. Speaking of Deke, Sailor Moon. Oh, did they distribute Sailor Moon over here? Scooby-Doo, best anime. Buzz Lightyear, Star Command. Oh, God. Yeah, I feel like cartoons got into this point where it was definitely aimed at kids, more so because the older crowd was finding different ways to find stuff, especially with the advent of the internet and stuff like that. I mean, you don't find you don't find much of any cartoons on network television now that are aimed towards a slightly older audience. It's all for the little kids. The slightly older audience they're going to go online. Was the Deke Sailor Moon dub really bad? Did you see the original pitch for Sailor Moon Deke before they decided to? Oh, God, no. Oh, so Treble, you're saying that they were going to westernize the artwork? Like they were going to recreate it from the ground up? Ugh. Oh, you know what? For 2000s, does Cardcaptor Sakura count? Because I think I remember watching that in the 2000s. Greg, what's a popular gaming franchise that you have no interest in? Suave. I am going to get beaten up for that question. Resident Evil. I'm sorry. I Resident Evil. I mean, there's the stuff like Call of Duty and all that. That's because it's first person games. Resident Evil, it's there. It's awesome. I've played some of the game. I've played the Resident Evil 1 remake on the GameCube. I played Resident Evil 4 on the Wii. But when you tell me that there's a new Resident Evil game, I just don't care. I just don't. And again, I have to constantly reiterate this. I feel like I need to constantly reiterate this. I am not saying anything bad about anybody who does like it. But if you have a conversation with me about how awesome Resident Evil is, it is going to be me listening to you have the conversation, because I don't have much to offer to that. Sonic X. Not to mention Avatar. Well, I guess, no, not Avatar. Korra. I think that's 2010s. Do you want it to westernize it really bad? Oh, no. Will there be a drunken shenanigans? CT, if there is, I'm not part of that. I don't think that I have much of an interest in any sort of drunk let's play. Now, if you're just talking about getting drunk and having a good time, then yeah. You're going to say Mario, ain't you? Casting Thundaga. Resi isn't for, and it's, yeah, Resi isn't for everyone. And it's, I don't know. I think, you know what? I was tainted with Resident Evil when the very first game came out, and it was just cheesy, and it was a cheesy B movie, and the acting was terrible, and it's still laughable to this day, and people acted like it was the greatest thing, and I just remember thinking, this looks like so many other crap games that are out now. Why is this one good and the other ones suck? And I think ever since then, I was just sort of poisoned to it. What is it? Buffer at the worst time? CT, I don't have an answer to that question. I know this is the Q&A portion, but I don't have an answer to why it's buffering at the worst possible times. In my opinion, you guys can let Ted know that everything I said is in my opinion. SGB Resident Evil 5 playthrough. Oh my god, yeah. Yeah, I'll be at the Resident Evil 5 playthrough going, so is this over? Like, are we done? Let me still push my opinion of Resident Evil onto you. Okay. Best animated movies of movie of 2000 was the B movie. There's you know what counts? Oh, the Animatrix. The Animatrix I thought was spectacular. That's considered 2000s. If you didn't see the Animatrix, if you were a Matrix fan, the Animatrix was a collection of cartoons by different artists relating to different things about the Matrix. Very awesome. Very cool soundtrack, too. It's just Greg yelling Shiva the whole time in the background. What about Bakugan and other advertisement shows? Awesome. They were all advertisement shows at one point. In the 80s, they were all advertisement shows. If somebody can correct me here, the Transformers originally were toys that had no show. In fact, the original toys didn't even have Decepticon and Autobot logos because there was no such thing. The cartoon was made as an advertisement to sell the toys, and then the toys were rebranded that way as good guys and bad guys. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but that is the story that I've heard, and I've heard that multiple times. Like two toys mashed together for a show. All right, so I have another question here. I have another question from Twitter. This is from Sean. Sean at Sean BMCC, who stops in every once in a while. Hopefully he's not driving when he was typing this. Where do you see video games in the next 10 to 20 years? I don't know. We kind of had a discussion about this before, just where gaming could be going. No, we talked about media. We talked about music and where do you take music after downloading files? You know, we had talked about that before. Video games are now currency. I tell you where I don't see video games on the shelves at Toys R Us. That's messed up. That's brutal awesome. Where do I see video games in 10 to 20 years? All right, let's answer the most obvious question first. The most obvious question is, do I see a bubble crashing? Do I see a crash? Do I see a market crash? I I don't think I see any kind of market crash. I don't think I see a situation where the industry falls apart because there's no more confidence in it, because there's no more interest in it. So I think that it's going to go strong. I think that we're experiencing the generational thing now, where the Nintendo and Super Nintendo games and the Genesis games are getting cheaper because those fan bases are growing up, and now the kids, the adults who had like PlayStation 2 and Xbox, they're the ones that are now buying stuff. So you see those prices go up. I feel like we are going to continue that trend. Yes, I do see a point where people are buying PS3 and PS4 games out of nostalgia. I do see that happening. I think the retro market is not going to die off, but like any other collecting market, it's going to shrink as its fan base gets older. You know, baseball cards used to be, I remember going to stores and they all had baseball cards and stuff. And then now I don't really see that much anymore. You know, I think that we are going to get to that point as everything sort of scales down. It sort of funnels into a cone starting at the beginning. You know, so I do see the retro game. If you're holding on to your Nintendo and Super Nintendo games because you're planning to make a profit later, I think that we're in the section of time that you're going to get the highest prices for them. I do see these prices dropping and staying dropped. And then but I do see new games coming up and doing that. As far as modern games, I honestly couldn't tell you. Oh, later, Jeffersonia. I honestly couldn't tell you. I mean, every time there's an experiment with making video games more interactive, it lasts for a while and then it fizzles out. VR is a big thing right now, but I think a lot of people still don't like the idea of it. And so I think it needs to survive the initial interest and then drop. If it survives that, I see it slowly increasing into more interest. I think that ultimately video games are going to just sort of be what they are now, which is a side thing that people do. It's a hobby on the side. Games are going to look better. Games are going to be easier to play. I think the Switch is probably the biggest change to the industry that there has been for a while, with the idea of taking your AAA games on the go. Other than that, I'm having trouble predicting where the industry could go. I do see downloads becoming a more common thing. So I do see that happening more. I do see physical media slowly sliding away or reducing in size significantly. They're the bottle caps of the dystopian landscape. People care too much about holding something physical in their hand. Yeah, and Suave, yeah, and I do see that sort of changing. Qbert with guns. It becomes Ready Player One. Everybody has VR now. I don't think so, Lady Foxheart. I think 10 to 20 years is too small of a span of time to say that everybody's going to switch over to a VR experience. I like it. I like the idea of it, but I think that there is a level of separation from society, from the environment around them, that is unsettling to too many people. You know what I mean? The idea of putting on a headset and blocking out everything sounds great until you actually have a headset on your head and you don't like the fact that you can't feel what is happening around you. I think that is a little unsettling to a lot of people. So I think that creates a situation where we'll never get, people like the idea of moving their hands and swinging the Wiimotes around for a couple of years, and eventually everybody just kind of got tired of it because it's sort of not. It's more work than is necessary. You're trying to play video games to relax. Next 20 years, people are going to be fighting for copies of B. Yeah, copies of the B movie will be currency. Little Samson dropping like nothing else, but Mega Man X3 keeping its price because it's Mega Man. So I want to archive. Yeah, Elements. That's where I am. I have my video games. I don't plan on making a profit with my video games. I plan on when somebody sees my video game collection, they can see a sampling of a lot of different things and experience all these stories, and not just these stories, but the actual tactile experience of playing video games. That's why I like having them. VR will take off once lewd games get Mambo. Yep. Yep. Once lewd pornography, once all that stuff gets really big into VR will go through the roof. I absolutely agree with that. Oh, later, Ryan. Prepare for disappointment. Yeah. So it's almost 4:30 right now. So if anybody's going to that Sonic thing, definitely head off and check that out. Let me know. Stop if it gets boring. Stop back in and let me know how boring it was. I paid off debt. I mean, we've had games on flat screens for the past 40, 50 years. So they're not going away. Yeah, they're not going away. We're just used to the idea of sitting in front of the TV and playing a game. It's convenient to our mind to handle it. You know, having to learn a whole different way to play the games. It's like macaroni and cheese. You know, I like macaroni and cheese because macaroni and cheese is a comfort food. I boil the water, I put the macaroni in there, I drain the macaroni from the water, or drain the water from the macaroni, I put the powder in, I stir it up, and there we go. I got macaroni and cheese. The people who it's got to have 3 different kinds of cheese and this breadcrumb crust, and you got to put it in the oven for an hour, and you got to boil the pasta, but then you got to cook it in the oven, and it just you're making it more complicated than it needs to be. All I want to do is sit down, eat mac and cheese, and play Final Fantasy VII. Old Georgian houses with their giant libraries, but instead of books, it's game. My dream, Elements. My dream. That is my dream, to have a giant library, but it's all video games. And then in front of each display, in front of each big tall shelf, is a glass case with the system in it. So it's almost like a museum. Want to play that as your game from your childhood? I got you back. I want to archive my N64 games. I'm waiting, and there's people archiving those, and that's the thing. There are people archiving those, so I don't sit here for a minute looking at all of my games and thinking, oh, thank God I'm doing it because nobody else is. There's tons of these games everywhere. Powder mac and cheese is wrong. No, powder mac and cheese is the way. So what did you like about this show? I like the part where Greg talks about macaroni for a long time. I'm probably gonna fight for Dwayne Johnson's shirt. Oh, I think I had. Hold on, let me see if I have another question here. This is one that I've talked about before in a sense. I'm gonna try and read this as best I can. This is from Zeke at Leaf Snivy. Is it me because I'm getting older, interests are changing, or maybe video games have become longer energy depriving? Like when I was 14 to 18, I could binge games for hours. Now I can only do like 3 max before needing to break or do something else. So basically the idea with that question is there something wrong with video games that the Leaf Snivy can only play for a few hours at a time? No problem, Elements. Yeah, to be completely honest, I expected my viewer count to drop hard when that I didn't know that Sega thing started, or that Sega thing was actually happening. I've talked about this sort of topic before, and there were days where I'd wake up in the morning and I didn't have anything to do. It was the weekend, and I turned on my Super Nintendo or something, and then I just played all day. And then now you kind of can't do that. You know, it feels like you're incapable of doing that. Like, even if you have the time, you just don't have the energy to do it for that long. I think a lot of that comes from the mental, the mentality of getting older and having other things to do. You know, when I was a kid, even in early teens, I woke up and I put my Super Nintendo on, and I played a game all day, because that was my plan for the day. You know, I didn't have any other thing that I was supposed to be doing. That was it. That was the plan. I probably went to bed the night before, excited to wake up in the morning and just start playing a game. Now, I've got work. I've got other things I have to do. Even when I have a day off, there's chores that can be done around the house. So I think that there's a lot of mentality to that situation that keeps you from those long, bingy gaming sessions. Where can you watch the Sonic? Yeah, does anybody have a link to that Sonic stuff? It seems weird that I'm offering up a link. If you have the link, please post it in Discord. It seems weird that I'm offering up a link to go see something else besides me. I mean, I don't know what they're planning on announcing. You know, the next round of disappointing stuff. Now, is it somebody can tell me, is it a Sonic panel or is it a Sega panel? I love doing that, playing games with my brother, playing games all day with my brother for practically the whole day. Yeah, it's just, you know, nowadays there's a little bit of, for me, there's a little bit of mentality that just keeps me from doing it. But could it be the video game's fault? And I don't think so. I think that if anything, a lot of modern games are way more engaging than they ever were. Games are definitely, there's tons of games that are definitely longer than they ever were. Maybe it could be the interest changing. It could be just the kind of game that you're playing, because there's people who say that they can't play certain games for more than a couple of hours, but when you pop them in front of Skyrim, they'll lose all sense of time. Please leave me. Sonic ain't Sonic if it isn't a train wreck. There's your quotable line from this stream. Sonic ain't Sonic if it isn't a train wreck. Because I can never binge play anymore unless it's a game of my childhood. Yeah, and even those, but even those games, CT, a lot of those games don't last that long. You know, I could sit here and say that I could binge Link to the Past, and I'm done in 5 hours. You know, it's not even the same thing. Now, obviously, some RPGs, I could sit here and play Final Fantasy IV for 12 hours and not be done the game, because I'm not a speedrunner. Usually for me, after I'm done, I'm playing in an hour or two. Okay, I get hooked and can't stop until I finish. It sort of depends on the game. Because there are some games where you just kind of need a break. And I do think that sometimes there's more in interest situation. You know, what you liked before isn't the same thing. To leave Snivy, I would actually say when you're having trouble playing for more than a few hours as opposed to playing all day, are you playing something new, or are you playing something that you've played a long time ago? Because there are probably some people who can only play a new game for a few hours, but when you plop them in front of a bunch of old games, the nostalgia alone will keep them going all day. So I'm curious to know what it is that they're playing. Later Elements, enjoy the Sega Sonic Sonic panel. I didn't know if somebody said that. Sally Acorn and Mania. So what do we got here? Peace, I love Greg. Woo! Probably relay some. Yeah, it's just stop it. Here, keep this stream open and then open up another stream and just let us know what's going on. Just keep the chat open from this stream, and you can let us know what's going on, because we're not going a whole lot longer. Let's see here. Double check. Oh wait, hold on. Okay. All right. So does anybody else have any questions or topics? I'll be back South by Southwest. Yeah, see, in all honesty, I may just call it soon, just because I know I'm seeing it, but I ain't leaving. New games generally have that problem where you might not know what to do, or the games be Well, see, Suave, I wonder about that because a big complaint with new games nowadays is that they're very hand-holdy. So they don't have that element of what am I supposed to do? They're very hand-holdy. Depending on the kind of game you play. You know, when you talk about something like Skyrim, you could very easily get sidetracked, but you're still doing stuff. There we go. You know, so it's all about the nature of the game. Does the game have a lot of stuff to keep you going? Is the environment, and these are things that existed before. You know, is the environment interesting to look at? Are they giving you enough things to do? Are the things that there are to do interesting enough? You know, when I played Warcraft, I always played Alliance characters. And the reason I played Alliance characters, oh, thank you, CT. The reason I played Alliance characters for no other reason was that their starting areas were always nicer and brighter to look at. So it was more appealing for the beginning of the game. Whenever I tried Horde characters, I made it over to the Eastern Kingdoms as fast as I could, because the Eastern Kingdoms are, it's drab forests and it looks all like deserts, and the whole aesthetic of the game is not pleasing to the eye, which makes it less enjoyable to actually play the game. You know, that's why I understand people who don't like old games because of old graphics. Because if the game is not enjoyable to look at, you're probably not going to have a good time. You know, games, without getting too overly dramatic with it, games in essence are a relationship. You know, people talk about what's important in a relationship. Oh, well, communication is important. Some people think looks are important. Some people think money is important. You know, there's all these things. And the reality is a balance of all of those things is what matters. Some things are valued more than others to certain people. But you do need a little bit of everything in order for it to work. Video games are kind of the same way. You know, if you're fine with retro graphics, then you're fine with retro graphics. You know, either you really, really want them or you're just okay with them. But I don't care how much you like retro graphics. If the gameplay is terrible, if the storyline is terrible, and the controls are horrible, you're not going to have a good time. You can like retro graphics all you want. You know, it's a relationship. There are all these different things that need to come together for you to be enjoying it. Best food. CT, hold on. I'll probably come back to that question, CT, because I like that question. People are rioting in the Sonic chat. Oh God, what did they say already? I'm gonna have to go and watch this thing. Best food to eat while gaming. I try not to mindlessly snack when I game, because that's how this got started. When I do mindlessly snack, if I'm in the mood for some chips, I'll take some chips or crisps. I normally like a big bowl of grapes. I like something like that. If I'm gonna mindlessly snack, I try and do it with something that I can eat a little bit of and it's not too bad, or I can eat a lot of and it's not too bad, or people like to talk about pizza and stuff, but you have to kind of put your controller down while you're eating pizza. Sometimes, like arcade, we used to go to arcades and we used to get slices of pizza and we would sit there and then the pizza would just be on another machine. More than anything, I like to have, if I need anything while I'm playing a game, it's normally something to drink more than it is something to eat. Popcorn, awesome, absolutely. Popcorn is a great one. No butter though, because I don't want grease on my controllers. And you get grease on my controller, I'll hurt you. Well, I won't hurt you. Why were you talking about Oh, hey, Rooster. Oh no, Rooster. I was just talking about the idea of liking video games and how video games are a relationship where there are a lot of different aspects for a video game to work for you, which is kind of like relationships. I don't want a girlfriend. Yes, you do want a girlfriend, Rooster. You want a girlfriend, and her name is Retro Gaming. I want a bedroom and a door. Oh yeah, if you just stopped in, check out the VOD later. I don't even think I have any copywritten music this time. Which, by the way, for anybody that was here on last night's stream, the very, very late night stream, I played tons of music and only 2 songs got a copy written out. They got muted. They let everything else go. I was kind of surprised by that. It's difficult to eat while playing. I don't want to get food on my controller. Exactly, Elements. Yeah, so that's why I like to eat dry stuff. So if it's popcorn, there's no butter. Or I've just got paper towels there with me. Something that I can just... that's why I like grapes, stuff like that. Or something that I can just eat with a fork. Like, because when I eat strawberries, for instance, I cut the strawberries up and I put a little sugar on them. Oh, so good. So I'll have them in a bowl with a fork. And then I'll just sit there and eat them like that. Hello, it's the SADS SDA. Hello, SDA. My retro gaming is always going to be my mistress. I don't need anything serious right now. I wish I saw that stream. Oh man, Elements, we had a blast. I was up for 4 hours. It was the Quiet Storm stream. When did you stop last night? Oh, I stopped last night at 4 a.m. Oh, thank you, Sanaj. Thank you. I am okay, SDA. How are you doing? I've asked the traditional questions. Yeah. We can skip the question. We normally ask a few questions to new play. You're welcome to if you want to, because we normally have a couple of questions. Yeah, 4 a.m. flip note. That was a 4 hour 15-minute stream of us just being mellow. We started playing music at one point. Sonic Forces DLC. So Sonic Forces DLC is the thing that was just announced. Okay. Which I'll be honest, that game didn't look that bad to me. I didn't play it, but looking at it visually, it doesn't look that bad. I mean, the whole thing with that's why it's called War. It's kind of hokey. Okay. Yeah, my feed is starting on Twitter is starting to fill up with people talking about the South by Southwest thing. It had Lost Painting from Symphony of the Night. Woo, CT throwing the dimes at me, throwing the heavy dimes at me. I appreciate that. So what are we at? 440 here. Are you a Sundere or Yandere? Live action and CG Sonic film. Oh boy. Did you play Vampire Killer? I think I played an earlier version of it. I forget. We started playing so much stuff. Sonic and Saving Private Ryan remastered. No, Knuckles and Saving Private Ryan remastered. Oh boy. You know what? It is a little early. I think we should just call it now. Yeah, because this Sonic thing is going on. I kind of want to catch some of that too. So I think we are going to call it now. As for this weekend, nah, I don't think I'll do it. I was gonna start doing like a sort of recommendation for the weekend if you've got some time, try and check this game out and stuff. But I don't know. For this weekend, why don't you play a game that is on your backlog that you haven't played yet? There you go. Why don't we do that? We'll make that'll be the new rule. You have to at least play something for a little while that you've been meaning to try out. See you on the other side of the Sonic fan base. Sorry, the Sega thing. Oh no, Elements, it's totally fine. I'm absolutely okay with it. It's we're calling it 20 minutes early. I'm okay with that. I would rather everybody do something that they really want to enjoy, as opposed to stay here out of some sort of obligation or something like that. Because I feel like I don't command any sort of obligation from anybody at this point. I appreciate all of the support, but I'm definitely not at a point where I should be saying, you guys need to watch this stream and catch that stuff later. Like, go and watch the thing that you guys want to watch. That's better anyway. So yeah, so we are going to call it now. Thank you guys so much for stopping in for this episode of The Silver Lining. This was episode 7, I believe. If you are watching this on Twitch, once again, We are here Fridays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern. First half is always topics, and the second half is always viewer topics and questions, Q&A. Follow me on Twitter at SilverGreg78. That is the best place where I'll post updates about what's going to happen with the show, as far as whether or not it's going to start on time. If you have any questions for the show, you can at me, or the best thing to do is to just use the hashtag #TheSilverLiningShow and then ask your question, and then I'll search that hashtag at the beginning of the show, and we'll pull our questions from there. Again, they don't have to be totally clean, but try and keep it cleanish. If you are watching this on YouTube, like I said, you catch the show live on Fridays, 3 to 5, and I don't like doing that whole. I'm not gonna do that. I was gonna do that whole like and thing and like and subscribe and all, but I hate doing that. It feels weird. But thank you guys for joining me. Have an amazing night. Take care. Have a great weekend, and I will see you guys, I don't know, on the flip side.